If you're looking for a way to break free and to break through in 2025, then I highly recommend you take a look at this new moon on December 30th, 2024 in Capricorn. Friends, this new moon, it's almost like it just couldn't be designed better for New Year's resolutions and intentions. And I think it's important to also state that even though this new moon is on December 30th, the energy of this new moon is going to be very potent for a few days, and its influence lasts for 2 weeks until we go into the next full moon. So even though it's on December 30th, you can definitely pull from this energy to supercharge your intentions, your resolutions, your goals, your vision boards, whatever it is that you do to align with the potential and the magic that 2025 has to offer. So let's get going. Let's get into it. So the sun and the moon is at 9 degrees in Capricorn, and probably the biggest alignment that the sun and the moon, because they're conjunct when it's a new moon, is a sextile at 14 degrees with Saturn that is in Pisces. So Capricorn is the doer. It is I am because I do. And it is associated with the sea goat. So the symbol of Capricorn has the head of a goat, has the tail of a fish, meaning that this is a sign that is able to go to the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows. It's able to somehow do things that otherwise would seem impossible. So if you have some pretty audacious dreams, aspirations, or intentions for 2025, this is definitely the energy to be tapping into. And what's really beautiful about this too is that it's in a sextile with Saturn in Pisces. And Pisces is a very spiritual sign. And in this particular case, because these two are aligning in a very harmonious way, it brings a practicality to the spiritual connection that Saturn and Pisces has to offer. What's also very interesting is that Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So it's like we have almost like a double Capricorn energy, and we have these two different sides of this energy that is working very much into our benefit. So we're going to have a heightened awareness with this new moon on how the intangible, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our imagination, the vision that we hold for our future, we're going to have a very heightened awareness around how those intangible things affect our tangible reality, our experience of our everyday life. So that is one of the reasons why I say this new moon is such a potent container to hold any of the new intentions or aspirations that you have for 2025. All new moons are considered to be more aligned with new beginnings and new intentions, whereas full moons are associated with letting go, clearing space, and even reanalyzing and realigning to make as far as making adjustments for long-term goals. This new moon is very interesting in that it definitely has like that very potent container that I just talked about, because it's literally bringing together tangible reality, the actions and the behaviors and the things that we actually need to do, that's Capricorn, in order to get to where we want to go. But then you also have this Pisces energy that gives the spiritual component, the spiritual connection that literally breathes life and joy and purpose into those actions. And then we also have a very interesting square between Venus, that's in Aquarius. So Venus is a planet that is associated with luck, with beauty, with money, and with more or less like tangible life, a hearth, family, and home. And then it's squared with Uranus, that's at 23 degrees in Taurus. What's interesting about that is, so just like I talked about how Capricorn and Taurus are playing together, but they're almost like twins, right? The same thing is happening here. Venus rules Taurus. Uranus rules Aquarius. Venus is in Aquarius, and Uranus is in Taurus. It's like they're sitting in each other's houses, right? And they're sitting in each other's houses and they're in opposition, so they're squared with one another. And so it's almost like they're looking at each other from across the neighborhood street. Hey neighbor, how's it going? And both of their homes looks uncannily similar. Same paint job, maybe same lawn ornaments or whatever. And it's because these two energies are mirroring each other. And so Aquarius, which is also Uranus energy, we can think of it as like the Tower card in the tarot. And I know folks who follow the tarot, you guys probably, if you've ever had a tarot reading and this comes up, you might cringe a little bit. This is not the most comfortable card. But the very card that comes after it is the Star card. And I always associate this card with Aquarius, the water bearer. In some other decks, the person on the Star card is actually pouring water into the pond or the lake that she is putting her foot in. And the Star card is about rebirth, renewal, transformation in a rejuvenative way. Whereas the Tower card is Uranus. Tower card is like it wipes the slate clean. So there is this shifting that has happened, or I would say has been happening, because Uranus has been in Taurus for a while. So, and we have had a lot of very transformative, very shifty kind of energy throughout 2024. So all of us are probably already somewhat aware of what kind of shift or change is happening in our tangible world to our money, our finances, our lifestyle, our relationships, so on and so forth, our home. But this energy with Capricorn and Pisces is giving us the ability to be able to think outside of the box, to not succumb so easily to the anxiety that uncertainty can bring, to not get pessimistic when things seem challenging, to keep a broader perspective, and to start taking more of an attitude of curiosity on how might we leverage what it is that we do know, with the resources that we do have, in order to be able to make the best of the situation that we're currently in, and possibly even rewrite for the future, rewrite our story for the future. What's also very interesting about that too, as far as like rewriting the future, is that the sun and the moon is trining the ascendant in Aries. And the ascendant in Aries is like 1 degree away from the North Node in Aries. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that throughout 2024, I've talked a lot about this North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra, which is creating a huge upheaval and transformation on how we relate to others, how we relate to ourselves, our boundaries, and so on and so forth. So with the ascendant being being in Aries and it trining the sun and the moon, it is very much asking us, it's prompting us, it's encouraging us. I almost feel like it's kind of like pushing us out the door, so to speak, of, okay, we're taking stock of everything that we've experienced over the last 12 to 18 months. Taking stock, reanalyzing, and with this Capricorn can-do energy, the cosmos couldn't really be laying out more of a welcome mat of like, now go do it. Fly, little birdie, fly. And then what's also, if we didn't need, if that wasn't enough, we also have a little bit of luck that Santa Claus Jupiter comes in. So Jupiter is a lot of times, I've just read somewhere where like they describe Jupiter as like the Santa Claus of the planets in the zodiac. And I really like that analogy because it's luck, it's abundance, it amplifies anything that it touches. And it's at 13 degrees in Gemini, and it is in opposition to Mercury that is at 18 degrees in Sagittarius. And again, my friends, here again, we have these two energies that are basically mirror reflections of each other. Because Jupiter, it rules Sagittarius, and Mercury is in Sagittarius. And Jupiter's in Gemini. And Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which is in Sagittarius. So they're both in, like, they're, neighbors that are across from the road from each other. They're looking at each other, and their homes almost look identical because this is a mirror reflection of each other. So if we needed any kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? If we needed any kind of reassurance that our perspective was true, if we've been gaslit in the past with certain relationships, that's definitely something that's come up with this North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra for the last, 18 plus months or whatever it's been. It's been there for a while. If that's the kind of thing that we are healing from, narcissistic abuse, gaslighting, not trusting ourselves, that type of thing, then all of these ways in which the planets and the signs are mirroring each other, it's almost as though the universe is repeating itself. And when the universe repeats itself, it's not just because it wants to hear itself talk. It's doing so as a way to get a message across. The universe is fractal. It uses the same patterns over and over and over again. That's actually how tarot and astrology works, is because of the fractal nature of the universe. All we're doing is we're looking at patterns. So when we see something in the stars, and this happens in tarot too, if you see the same pattern showing up over and over and over again, then that's a big ding, ding, ding from the universe saying, pay attention to that. So pay attention to even the small things that you may discredit as not being a big deal, that may actually be a huge deal as far as being able to leverage to make this type of changes that you want to see in the coming year. That could be something as small as having good health. That's one of those things that we take for granted unless it's taken away, right? So if you're blessed right now and you're doing well physically, that would be something to be like, okay, I do have maybe some extra energy reserves, and so perhaps I can focus those extra energy reserves in such and such a way. It could be something like the ability to call a particular person when you need support. It could be the ability to have a lot of clarity on what it is that you really want. The number one thing that gets in our way as far as creating new intentions and goals and creating a plan to get there is usually the fact that folks, you get more tied into what is available, what is realistic versus what they really want. And this new moon is saying, shoot for the stars. And even if you don't hit the stars, you'll hit the moon, baby. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Star cards got you. And even if you have recently experienced or are preparing to experience some big upheaval in your foundations and what it is that you relied on, it's not comfortable stuff. Any anxiety that you may be feeling around uncertainty, we can reframe it as a way, as a feeling of the slate being clear, so that you can design something completely brand new. I wrote this down, this thing that I saw on social media, because I thought when I looked at the chart, I was like, this is exactly what this person was talking about on social media, and I wish I remembered who it was. But they said your potential is correlated with the amount of uncertainty you're able to withstand. So if we are able to create enough space between us and the anxiety of the uncertainty, if we're able to focus on what our intentions are, and essentially take care of what is actually under your influence to take care of, and leave the rest and not worry about it because we can't do anything about it anyway, then we're going to find ourselves in a much more peaceful and probably a much more prosperous place at the end of 2025. Because worry, all it does is creates a psychological drain. If we can't influence it, if we can't change it, and we sit there and we ruminate about it, all it's doing is it's siphoning all of that vitality that could be used towards something that we might actually have some sort of influence over. So, yeah, so if you have any inspiration lately on doing a thing, on starting something, or maybe even just putting out the feelers, or you're feeling inspired. I always look at Capricorn. They always say that Capricorn is like super goal oriented. I like to say that Capricorn is purpose driven, because Capricorn will go to the highest highs and the deepest depths if it feels inspired to do so. That it really, even for Capricorn, work for work's sake eventually will burn you out. But purpose-driven work has a lot more stamina behind it. It has soul, because you've breathed soul into it. And that's what the Saturn in Pisces is here to also help us with, because Saturn in Pisces, it will allow us to be able to also see what's perhaps some of our illusions have been, because Saturn is about karma, and it's about time-bound consciousness, and it's also Saturn in some ways is kind of it creates a lot of patterns, or at the very least, it's there to show us the patterns, which sometimes can be not so great to look at, because sometimes those patterns aren't very helpful, or they're kind of cringeworthy. So Pisces is allowing us to take a look back and say, what were my misperceptions? What were some of the illusions and delusions that perhaps I held? And am I willing to let go of those? And if I do, am I willing to go through the identity transformation that letting go of some of those beliefs and perspectives might entail? So, because a lot of times our opinions are more about how we identify ourselves and how we perceive ourselves and how we fit into the world and our community than they really are about any kind of factual truth. And I know that that might be kind of hard to hear, but that is the majority of the psychology of most people, is that our opinions are typically more about how we see ourselves than they really are about factual truth. So let's get some additional information on how best we can leverage this new moon on December 30th, 2024 in Capricorn to create the best outcome for 2025. All right, we have a couple that are just popping out. I like that. It means the energy's strong around that. All right. All right, so the first three cards that come out is the Ace of Cups, and it is reversed. And this came up with the Four of Cups, which is about reanalysis. The Ace of Cups, when it's in reversal, is about disappointments, something we had to let go of. So you can see that this hand is holding this cup, and when it's upside down, we're letting go of something. There has been a disappointment that is part of this reanalysis of period that we're finding ourselves in at the end of 2024. And this reanalysis could be creating a lot of mental anxiety. This is the Nine of Swords. And I did pull 3 cards to see what the resolution for that anxiety might be. So as we are reanalyzing whatever this loss is, whatever this disappointment is, it's causing us some anxiety for the future. And what's coming up to me around that is like there's this fear that we may make the wrong choice, which will then create more loss in the future. And that's the thing that could be holding us back from taking the action that the Capricorn energy is inviting us to do. So one thing that I want to say before we get into these next 3 cards is, just because something was a disappointment doesn't necessarily mean you made a mistake. It doesn't mean that that there's any reason to not trust yourself. Sometimes there are certain things that happen in life where either they were meant to happen because we had to learn a particular lesson, or perhaps we're part of that other person's lesson, or sometimes we just don't know. why certain things happen, but it doesn't always mean that it's because you did something wrong or that you made some sort of mistake. So the way that we create resolution to these anxieties and calm them, soothe them, is by embracing the newness that's coming out. Because the Page of Swords is about new ideas. The Swords is the sign in the tarot card that is about the element of air, our intelligence, our knowledge, our wisdom, our memory, and I would say even somewhat our imagination, and especially with the Page, because the Page is the court card before the Knight. So this is the childlike card. This person, it's a female in this particular deck, so she's a maiden. A shield maiden, I would say, because she's got a sword. And she's paving new paths. She's paving a new way forward. And the next two cards that come up are very interesting because they're both kings. But one king is reversed and the other king is right side up. So what I'm seeing here is a transition from two things, from the certain specific aspects about ourselves, but also specific aspects of certain people in our lives that where we are finding ourselves redefining who and in what way we want to relate to others. Because this King of the Wands reversed, when he's in his reversal, he's kind of a jerk, to be honest. Like the King of Wands and its reversal is oppressive, domineering, stubborn, my way or the highway kind of energy. He's just kind of a jerk. The Wands is about our fire element, and when in its reversal, it's like that fire element of our will, our courage, our charisma, our action is not being utilized in a very helpful way. And so I think that for a lot of us, there might be some males or people that have a lot of male energy. This could be a boss, it could be a father figure, it could be a older male friend or colleague where this person exemplifies the very energy that we're being asked to distance ourselves from, or could be reflecting some qualities within ourselves that we might need to balance out. We don't have to necessarily be pushy or forceful in order to insert our will or our personal power to be heard. And then that brings us to the next king. So as we are making our way from this king who's kind of a ruthless ruler, we are now coming into contact with more people who are more balanced in their personal power. And again, this is swords, just like the Page. So what I see here is that this new phase that we are embarking on, it is coming with some anxiety, as all change does. It creates an element of uncertainty. And we are learning, because it's swords, so this is about intellect and learning new skills, and also specifically communication skills, because we are going to be more attracted to people who reflect qualities of clear communication, who know how to be an authority without being pushy or pompous. People who perhaps this might be a teacher for some of us, since this is the Page and this is us. We might be reaching out for somebody who could be a mentor or a guide, or just somebody that we potentially look up to as somebody who exemplifies these qualities that we are wanting to embody. So if anything, as far as like what we can do right now to create the analysis of being able to look back in 2024, and I even would say some of 2023, and it's producing oh my gosh, how could I let that happen? Or like, what if I make the wrong decision? Can I trust anybody? Can I trust myself? It's what I call the itty bitty shitty committee. It's like all of the internal thoughts that are not really helpful. The way that we get through that is by clear communication. That means also voicing our fears, especially with people who we may be in partnership with, either romantically or perhaps even professionally. You know, speaking our fears out. When we speak the fears out, then there's no shame for those fears to hide behind and to grow. So the way that we cut through with the swords, cut through any kind of shame, cut through the fear, is by voicing, asking for assistance, and voicing also what it is that we truly want, what it is that we deserve, and speaking our truth into existence. This is very possible what the connection with Jupiter in Gemini and Mercury in Sagittarius. These are both really big energies, and Mercury and Gemini are associated with the swords in the tarot. They're associated with communication. They're associated with learning, with new skills, and specifically with new communicative skills. So communicating, I don't think it's just with having conversations. I think that this also may have to do with certain creative expressions that many of us might be percolating at the moment, so gestating. So perhaps it's a new type of artwork you want to explore, or you want to start a vlog, or you want to start writing articles, or whatever it might be. Your voice matters. Your voice matters, and chances are you are more of an authority in certain areas than you may be giving yourself credit for. So the king is telling the page, telling us that we have a lot to offer, and that it's time to start taking tangible, actionable steps to embody the kind of visibility that we want, as well as the kind of livelihood that we want and deserve. So it's really big, but it's also very direct, which is something I absolutely love about this new moon. It's big energy because we got we got Jupiter in there, we've got Saturn and Pisces, like these are really big kind of energies, but it's also incredibly concentrated. So if we can just take a little bit of our willpower and thank the mind, the fears, for potentially, all of the anxiety, because what it's doing is trying to protect us, right? It's just trying to protect us. The mind isn't our enemy, but sometimes the way it tries to protect us is like a really well-meaning friend whose tactics are way off. So we just thank the anxiety, thank the fears, give voice to those fears, and then focus on what it is that you really want. If I wasn't so afraid, if I didn't feel XYZ the way that I feel, what would be the possibilities? And of all of those feelings, which parts of them are truly indicative of something real, and what parts of it might be what Saturn is trying to give us some perspective on? What parts of it may be blown out of proportion, twisted, or amplified in a way that isn't really helpful. So take full credit, take the possibilities that this Capricorn energy has to offer, because it's all about taking actionable steps, even if those steps are tiny, baby, minuscule steps. That mini step forward is still a step forward. So even Capricorn, with all of its doingness, would never dismiss even the smallest step forward. So Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you have a blessed 2025. I will see you back here in a couple weeks. And if you found this video informational, informative, or entertaining at all, please hit that subscribe and like button, all the things that really helps out the channel. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.